News TV is your #1 station focusing on business, economy, and development. With global digital reach, we connect Africa's pulse to the world stage. Welcome to News Television, and here we go beyond the headlines. From breaking news, in-depth conversational programs, to market analysis and indices. From policies affecting growth to unique documentaries, from live event coverage to bespoke productions, we deliver content that connects you to the world. At News Television, we provide news surrounding business, economy, and development, infomercials and jingles that stand out, short and long-form documentaries crafted to international standards, independent production spaces with full technical support, special coverage for individual and corporate events, a special form of documentaries through our prestige package, Immortals, where we tell your story the way you'd love it, and business support services tailored for small enterprises. News TV, powered by FEMWatch Limited, also home to the Isle 95.9 FM Lagos and Kasua 99.7 FM Kano, and Emirate News Television Abuja, together forming Africa's trusted media powerhouse. Storytelling, coverage, and connection that matters. News TV, your home for business, economy, and development.
Hello and welcome to World News on News Television. I am Omobola Sandra. Here are the headlines. Nigeria attracts nearly $1 billion in new data center investments to meet rising AI and digital service demand across Africa. INEC defends 1.5 billion naira charge for certified true copies of voter register, says fee reflects actual production cost. Morocco to adjust 2025 budget to focus on health, education, and reducing regional inequalities, says the finance minister. China accuses U.S. of undermining rules-based global trade system with discriminatory policies and unilateral sanctions. Premier League clubs split over proposal to impose spending cap limiting total expenditure to revenue of lowest earning team. Nigeria is attracting close to $1 billion in fresh investments for new data centers as global technology companies move to expand their presence and meet surging demand for artificial intelligence and digital services across Africa. The investment wave is being driven by major tech and infrastructure firms seeking to strengthen data capacity, improve connectivity, and support the region's growing cloud and AI ecosystems. Analysts say Nigeria's large population, expanding internet penetration, and pro-digital policies have positioned it as a key hub for West Africa's digital economy. According to industry sources, several projects are already under construction in Lagos and Abuja, with investors including global cloud providers, local telecom operators, and private equity firms. The new facilities are expected to boost data sovereignty, reduce latency, and create thousands of skilled jobs in engineering, cybersecurity, and IT services. Experts believe the expansion of data infrastructure will also attract more AI startups, fintechs, and digital service providers, accelerating Nigeria's push toward becoming Africa's leading technology powerhouse. Nigeria is holding talks with foreign investors ahead of a planned $2.3 billion Eurobond issuance aimed at refinancing maturing debt, boosting foreign reserves, and reinforcing investor confidence in its ongoing economic reforms. Government officials said the planned bond sale, expected before the end of 2025, aligns with the administration's broader fiscal strategy to reduce reliance on short-term borrowing and attract sustainable foreign capital. The move comes as Nigeria continues to implement monetary and exchange rate reforms designed to stabilize the naira, curb inflation, and restore macroeconomic balance. Analysts say the success of the Eurobond issuance will depend on investor perception of Nigeria's reform momentum and fiscal discipline. Recent improvements in oil revenue, rising foreign exchange inflows, and stronger reserves have already helped ease pressure on the currency market. The debt sale, if completed, will be Nigeria's first major return to the international capital market since 2022, signaling renewed investor confidence and a strategic effort to rebuild the country's external financing credibility. The federal government has announced plans to list at least 1,000 small and medium enterprises, SMEs, on the Nigerian capital market to improve access to long-term financing, stimulate economic growth, and tackle unemployment. The initiative was unveiled following the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, between the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, and the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMES, in Abuja. The agreement aims to strengthen cooperation between both institutions in creating sustainable financing options for Nigeria's over 40 million registered micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSMEs. According to the SEC, the partnership will enable SMEs to raise funds through public offerings and attract both local and foreign investors. It also seeks to enhance corporate governance, financial reporting, and business formalization among small enterprises. Officials said the plan aligns with President Bola Tinubu's economic reforms focused on private sector-led growth and job creation, while positioning the capital market as a key driver of inclusive and sustainable development. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has explained that the 1.5 billion naira fee charged for certified true copies, that is CTCs, of the National Voter Register reflects only the actual cost of production. In a statement on Tuesday, INEC said the amount was calculated based on the duplication and transcription of over 6 million pages at 200 naira per page, which represents the approved administrative rate for document certification. The Commission stressed that the fee does not include any hidden charges or profit margin, but covers the direct cost of materials, data handling, and staff processing time. INEC noted that the voter register is a massive document requiring careful reproduction to maintain data accuracy and integrity. It added that the Commission remains committed to transparency and compliance with public service regulations. The clarification follows criticism from civil society groups and political actors who question the high cost. INEC maintained that the process is essential to ensure secure and verifiable documentation for electoral and legal purposes. The Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NEITI, has urged the federal government to end multiple taxation in the solid mineral sector to attract sustainable investments and drive development. In a statement by its Deputy Director of Communications and Stakeholders Management, Chris Ochono, NEITI said its Executive Secretary, Dr. Orji Ogbonnaya said, made the call during the 2025 Nigeria Mining Week in Abuja. Orji emphasized the need for a harmonized, transparent, and predictable regulatory framework that will create stability and boost investor confidence in the sector. According to NEITI, while there have been notable improvements in the licensing process, challenges such as overlapping policies and excessive taxes continue to hinder investment inflows and limit sectoral growth. The agency noted that resolving these issues is crucial to positioning solid minerals as a viable alternative revenue source for Nigeria beyond oil. It further encouraged collaboration between government institutions and private operators to promote accountability, sustainability, and competitiveness within the mining industry. Nigeria produced a total of 454 million barrels of crude oil and condensates between January and September 2025. According to the data from the Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, the report showed that crude oil accounted for 399 million barrels, while condensate contributed 5.47 million barrels, representing about 12% of total liquid hydrocarbon output. The combined figure translates to an average daily production of 1.6 million barrels per day. Crude oil alone averaged 1.46 million barrels per day, while condensate added 0.20 million barrels per day over the 9-month period. Industry analysts say the output reflects gradual recovery in Nigeria's upstream sector following years of unproductivity linked to theft, vandalism, and declining investment. The government has been pushing reforms to boost efficiency and attract new capital inflows, particularly through the implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act and recent final investment decisions by international oil companies. The NUPRC said it remains committed to achieving higher stability and transparency in production, reporting, and overall sector governance. Point of sale POS operators have warned that the Central Bank of Nigeria's new agent banking policy could push many small fintech firms out of business and create monopolies in the financial services sector. Under the new rule, POS agents are required to operate exclusively with a single financial institution or super agent. The operators, represented by the Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria, AMBAN, said the policy will restrict competition, reduce consumer options, and expose thousands of small-scale agents to financial losses. AMBAN argued that the new regulation contradicts the CBN's broader financial inclusion goals by weakening the country's vibrant POS ecosystem, a sector credited with expanding access to banking services, promoting cashless transactions, and providing millions of jobs. They urged the Apex Bank to review the directive to allow multiple platform operations, stressing that exclusivity could benefit only a few large players while undermining innovation and sustainability among smaller fintech operators, driving financial inclusion at the grassroots. The Global Leadership Conclave Lagos has brought together policymakers, business leaders, development experts, and young innovators under one roof, all united by a common vision, transforming leadership ideals into practical action for sustainable development. Organized by the Global Lives Transformers Network in partnership with the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, the event is themed Redefining Leadership for a Sustainable Future. Speakers at the forum include Sir Victor Walsh, Mr. Stunji Odo, Dr. Patrick Uduma, Engineer Tony Ugwegwe, and others. They emphasize the urgent need for transformational leadership that bridges the gap between policy, ethics, and enterprise, particularly in developing economies like Nigeria. Discussions also centered on equipping the next generation of leaders with global competencies, integrity-driven values, and digital age problem-solving skills to drive inclusive economic growth. The conclave, holding at the NIIA Auditorium on Kofo Abayomi Street, Victoria Island, features panel sessions, keynote addresses, and networking segments designed to strengthen collaboration between government institutions, private sector players, and civil society actors. Participants say the platform reflects a growing recognition that effective leadership is the foundation of national progress and international competitiveness. This is the World News on Souk News Television. More after the break.
Hello Nigeria, hello Africa. Yeah, this is Sound Man. Keep watching Souk News.
My name is Babalola from Excel LED. Keep watching Souk News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch Souk News TV.
Hi, I'm Tom Boggables, and please keep watching Souk News.
Wale Seriki, SLG Lagos Island East. Souk News, keep out watching them and keep a lookout for them. They're up and coming, and we're proudly to be affiliated with them.
You alone where they make me go crazy. This your love in the cool of my brain. You're my medicine, I need you all day. Yo, it's Blackface Nigeria, and you're watching Souk News TV. Keep it locked on this dial, don't change it. You know what I say? Blackface Nigeria, love no bad.
The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Offences-Related Commission (ICPC) convened a one-day capacity-building workshop in Lagos aimed at strengthening accountability, transparency, and integrity across Nigeria's local government councils. Held under the theme, The Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption, the workshop was jointly organized in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Justice, Fiscal Responsibility Commission, Bureau of Public Procurement, Code of Conduct Bureau, and the Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity, with support from the EU-funded Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Program. The initiative was designed in response to the recent judicial pronouncement reaffirming local government as an independent tier of government.
State governments are prohibited from receiving funds allocated for local government.
Its objective was to equip local officials with knowledge and practical tools necessary for effective governance, compliance with procurement standards, and improved service delivery at the grassroots level.
Some will be deceived, as it were too. But what is more important is that we all have a task to ensure that autonomy granted to the local government, which is the third tier of government, is not abused.
The Supreme Court's affirmation of local government autonomy is a monumental victory for all of us. It grants grassroots democracy. It grants you the power to truly drive whatever development you think you can impact on your people. However, great power demands great responsibility. Autonomy without accountability is obviously a recipe for fiscal disaster. For us at Fiscal Responsibility Commission, FRC, which is part of this coalition that is going from state to state to educate the operators, it's very key that we learn how to plan.
Or a task, that duty that you have been entrusted with in that your office, you are the one responsible for it. If you don't do it well, if you allow yourself, like my brother said, your village people, to make you to read procurement, to make you to collect bribe, to make you to spend outside budget, we have no haram. Haram is what? Abomination. We have also fiscal haram. Are you aware? There is a concept called fiscal haram, and that is number one. Fiscal haram is any expenditure that's not budgeted. Spending government money without a budget is number one fiscal what? Haram.
The participants engaged in interactive discussions and team exercises, explored case studies on corruption prevention, accountability frameworks, and interagency collaboration. They also participated in a question and answer section focused on addressing challenges and exploring practical solutions to enhance public accountability in local government systems. At the end of the workshop, participants expressed satisfaction with the quality of content and delivery, highlighting the relevance of the sessions to their daily administrative responsibilities. Organizers reaffirmed that the joint agency initiative forms part of Nigeria's ongoing national anti-corruption agenda aimed at institutionalizing transparency, promoting fiscal responsibility, and strengthening governance structures at the grassroots level.
Welcome back. Morocco will revise its 2025 budget to prioritize health, education, and programs aimed at reducing regional inequalities. That is according to Finance Minister Nadia Feta-Alou. The shift in spending comes as youth-led protests continue to spread across the North African kingdom, exposing growing frustration over poverty, unemployment, and poor access to public services. The demonstrations, which have gained momentum in recent weeks, contrast sharply with the government's narrative of progress built around major infrastructure projects and preparations for the hosting of the 2030 FIFA World Cup. Egypt has announced a one-year freeze on domestic fuel prices following its latest round of price increases aimed at narrowing the national budget deficit and aligning local rates with global market costs. The Petroleum Ministry said the decision seeks to prevent further economic strain on citizens after fuel prices were raised by between 10 and 13% on Friday, marking the second hike this year. Diesel, one of the country's most used fuels, now sells at £17.50 per litre, up from £15.50, while gasoline grades rose to between £17.75 and £21. The government said it will continue subsidizing diesel despite International Monetary Fund recommendations to reduce subsidies under an $8 billion loan agreement. Egypt's move comes as part of broader fiscal reforms to curb its widening current account deficit, which stood at $2.2 billion in the second quarter. The freeze aims to balance economic discipline with social stability amid rising living costs. And now Indonesia has unveiled a new economic relief plan worth 30 trillion rupiah, equivalent to $1.8 billion, aimed at boosting consumer spending amid growing concern over slow wage growth and weak employment conditions. Coordinating Minister for Economic Affairs, Erlangga Hartarto, announced in Jakarta that the government will distribute the funds from October to December to help stimulate domestic demand. The cash support will reach more than 35 million families, representing about 140 million citizens across the country. In addition, the government will sponsor internship programs for 100,000 recent university graduates to improve youth job prospects and drive workforce development. The move underscores Indonesia's commitment to cushioning households from economic pressures while sustaining growth and employment through targeted fiscal intervention. Chinese manufacturers are abandoning the United States market as unpredictable tariffs under President Donald Trump continue to disrupt global trade flows. Exporters producing kitchen appliances, electronics, and decorations said they have given up on the United States, redirecting shipments to Europe, Latin America, the Middle East, and Africa. G-Star Electronics Appliance, whose sales once relied 60% on American orders, said erratic tariff changes have left the company seeking new markets after revenues fell sharply. Recent customs data shows that China's exports grew by 7.1% to about $19 trillion 950 billion yuan, roughly $2,800 billion, in the first 9 months of the year. However, shipments to the United States declined significantly, underscoring the strain caused by tit-for-tat tariff measures and restrictions on rare earth exports. Manufacturers now face shrinking profit margins as intensified competition in emerging markets forces many to sell at a loss. At the Canton Fair in Guangzhou, China's largest trade exhibition, exhibitors said no United States buyers attended, with stronger demand seen from Brazil, Southeast Asia, and Europe. Industry participants warned that losing access to the world's largest consumer market could slow China's manufacturing recovery, even as the country highlights export resilience ahead of its third quarter growth report. India's Trade Ministry and key government think tanks are pushing to relax some tariff and non-tariff restrictions on Chinese imports as the country's industries grow increasingly dependent on Chinese raw materials, 3 government officials have said. According to the officials, the proposed measures include allowing anti-dumping duties on selected Chinese products to expire and considering tariff cuts on raw materials critical to sectors such as leather, engineering goods, and manufacturing, areas where domestic production capacity remains weak. The shift comes amid efforts to boost India's export competitiveness and lower input costs for local manufacturers who have struggled with rising material prices and supply shortages. While the government maintains a cautious stance toward China following border tensions, economic policymakers argue that selective easing could help sustain industrial expansion and job creation. Analysts say the move reflects a pragmatic approach to trade management, balancing geopolitical caution with a practical need to secure affordable inputs for India's fast-growing export economy. This is still the world news on Sook News Television. We'll be right back.
Trafalgar Square, established in 1844, is a symbol of British naval history and a popular cultural spot in London. Named after the 1805 Battle of Trafalgar, it has been the site of celebrations, protests, and cultural events, representing the changing identity of the city. It houses several landmarks, like the Nelson Column, St. Martin-in-the-Fields Church, and the National Gallery. The Nelson's Column, a tribute to a naval hero, is the main feature of Trafalgar Square. Standing 52 meters tall, completed in 1843, it honors Admiral Horatio Nelson's victory at Trafalgar. The column is topped with a statue of Nelson, and 4 bronze panels at its base show scenes from his battles. Surrounding it are 4 large bronze lions added in 1867, symbolizing British power.
Iconic part of British culture, not just in its look, but this is very much the sort of centre of London. You know, whenever there's a celebration, a protest, it's a public space that's very important for a lot of not just people that live in London, but for the UK. You know, it's a place where people would congregate. You know, I remember being here all around the 2012 Olympics, but it was very much one of the centerpieces of British culture. Yeah, no, you used to be able to climb on the lions when I was younger, but you can't do anymore. So there you go. That's progress for you.
St. Martin's in the Fields Church, reputed as an architectural gem, was built between 1722 and 1726. It is known for a neoclassical design by architect James Gibbs and is famous for its portico and steeple and has influenced architecture worldwide. The church also a rich musical history, hosting concerts and helping the homeless.
Yeah, I actually came to London just on a little day trip, and then I remembered that this church sometimes has classical music on, so I just popped in, and there's no concert, but there were some people practicing. So there's a quartet of violins, and they made some lovely sort of practice for some classical concerts. So I really enjoyed just sitting there for 10 minutes listening to it. It's lovely. It's a really nice church, and it's nice that we don't to use it much time. So maybe we should have a nice coffee as well.
The National Gallery, founded in 1824, is a treasure trove of art. Located on the north side of Trafalgar Square, it houses over 2,300 artworks from the 13th to 20th century with free public access to masterpieces from major European artists.
I'm not really sure. I haven't been through the museum yet, but I'm here for a Christian heritage tour to kind of learn more about the history of the Protestant Reformation in England and Christian history here in England through the paintings that are in the gallery. So that's what I'm here for today.
Trafalgar Square blends Britain's naval history with modern art and culture. It remains an important public space, attracting millions of visitors each year to experience London's rich heritage and vibrant atmosphere. Chike Okolo, reporting for Souk News.
Welcome back. China has accused the United States of weakening the rules-based multilateral trading system since the new administration took office in 2025, alleging repeated use of discriminatory policies, reciprocal tariffs, and unilateral sanctions that violate World Trade Organization WTO commitments. In a statement to the WTO on Friday, China's mission said Washington's recent trade measures have eroded trust among member nations and disrupted global supply chains. The delegation described the U.S. approach as unilateral bullying that threatens the stability of international commerce. Beijing also announced that its Commerce Ministry will soon release a detailed report assessing U.S. compliance with WTO principles across 11 key areas, including tariffs, export controls, and sanctions. The report is expected to call for renewed dialogue and urge Washington to respect WTO rules while working with other members to uphold global trade governance. The latest exchange highlights deepening trade tensions between the world's two largest economies, even as both face pressure to stabilize global markets and rebuild investor confidence. The Bank of England's chief economist, Hugh Peel, has urged a slower and more measured approach to interest rate reductions amid growing concerns over persistent inflationary pressures in the United Kingdom. Speaking in London on Friday, Peel said that while additional rate cuts are expected in the coming year if economic trends align with the central bank's projections, policymakers must avoid acting too hastily to prevent a rebound in prices. He warned that inflation, though easing, remains above the bank's comfort level, and premature policy loosening could undermine recent progress in restoring price stability. Peel emphasized the need for patience and data-driven decisions, noting that sustainable economic recovery depends on maintaining a careful balance between growth support and inflation control. The statement comes as investors anticipate further rate adjustments following months of cautious optimism in the financial markets. Analysts say the Bank of England's stance underscores its priority of anchoring inflation expectations before committing to a full-scale monetary easing cycle. France is urging the European Union to postpone the implementation of stricter banking capital regulations for the third time, arguing that the current schedule could weaken the competitiveness of European leaders. The proposal targets the fundamental review of the trading book, a global standard requiring banks to hold higher capital buffers against risk in their trading operations. The European Commission had already shifted the enforcement date to the year 2027, while the United Kingdom has extended its own deadline to the year 2028. Paris contends that adopting the rules earlier than other jurisdictions, particularly the United States, could disadvantage European financial institutions and reduce liquidity in capital markets. Officials familiar with the discussion said France is pushing for further alignment between the European Union and global peers to ensure a level playing field. The delayed debate highlights a broader tension within Europe's financial system, balancing prudential stability with the competitiveness of its banking sector in an increasingly volatile global market. Canada's Finance Minister, François-Philippe Champagne, has revealed that the country's next federal budget will focus on attracting private capital by combining fiscal discipline with strategic public spending. Speaking during the International Monetary Fund and World Bank meetings in Washington, Champagne said the upcoming plan will crowd in private investment through infrastructure financing and streamlined regulatory frameworks. He explained that the government aims to reduce bureaucratic bottlenecks while channeling funds into long-term projects that promote productivity and sustainable growth. According to him, the fiscal approach will shift emphasis from short-term stimulus to capital formation that encourages private sector participation. The minister added that the strategy aligns with Prime Minister Mark Carney's broader vision of building an investment-driven economy. The plan is expected to strengthen confidence in Canada's financial markets and accelerate domestic and foreign capital inflows into key sectors such as clean energy, technology, and manufacturing. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce has filed a lawsuit against President Donald Trump's administration over a new $100,000 fee imposed on H-1B visas for highly skilled foreign workers. Filed on Thursday, the case marks the powerful lobbying group's first legal challenge against the Trump administration since the president began his second term in January. The chamber, which represents about 300,000 businesses, argued that the hefty fee violates federal law and could severely harm U.S. companies that rely on global talent to fill critical roles in technology, healthcare, and engineering. Business leaders say the policy will discourage innovation and push skilled workers to other countries. The White House, however, insists the measure is aimed at protecting American jobs and ensuring that employers prioritize domestic workers. The lawsuit adds to growing tensions between the Trump administration and corporate America over immigration and labor market policies. Also, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is facing growing criticism for adopting what many described as hedge fund-style tactics in managing the nation's finances. His latest strategy, increasing exposure to short-term Treasury bills while betting that interest rates will soon fall, has sparked debate over whether market instincts belong in public fiscal policy. Bessent's approach has drawn further scrutiny following reports that he's aligning U.S. financial interests with Argentina's volatile economy, a country long plagued by inflation, debt default, and political instability. Supporters argue that Bessent's private sector expertise could help deepen U.S. influence in South America and open new channels for economic cooperation. However, critics warn that his risk-taking approach could backfire, exposing American taxpayers to potential losses if global markets shift unexpectedly. They say his strategy prioritizes speculative gains over stability, undermining the traditional caution expected of the Treasury. And now moving on to sports, Premier League clubs are divided over a new proposal to introduce a strict spending cap that would limit total player and transfer spending to 5 times the revenue of the league's lowest earning club. The plan, which aims to promote financial sustainability and competitive balance, has reportedly sparked heated debate among club executives ahead of the next shareholders' meeting. Supporters, mostly from smaller clubs, argue that the measure will curb excessive spending by top teams and ensure a more level playing field. However, several of the league's wealthiest sides are pushing back, warning that the rule could hurt their ability to compete with major European league clubs. If approved, the proposal would replace the current profit and sustainability rules, PSR, and introduce a simpler revenue-linked system from the 2025-26 season. Analysts say the plan reflects growing pressure from both UEFA and domestic regulators for tighter financial controls in football, as rising transfer fees and wage bills continue to challenge the league's long-term stability. Brazilian football legend Zico has named former Super Eagles captain Austin J.J. Okocha as the greatest African footballer of all time. Speaking on John Obi Mikel's podcast on Thursday, Zico hailed Okocha's extraordinary talent and creativity, describing his style of play as fantastic and full of flair. He said Okocha possessed a rare ability to entertain fans while maintaining technical brilliance, a combination that made him stand out among his peers. Zico, who himself is regarded as one of football's finest playmakers from the 1970s and 80s, said Okocha's influence on and off the pitch remains unmatched in African football. His endorsement adds to the global recognition Okocha continues to receive for his dazzling dribbles and artistry during his time with Bolton Wanderers, Paris Saint-Germain and the Nigerian national team. The remark has sparked excitement among Nigerian fans who regard Okocha as a symbol of creativity and joy in African football. That's a wrap on the news, but before we go, here is a recap of the top stories. Nigeria attracts nearly $1 billion in new data investment to meet rising AR and digital service demand across Africa. INEC defends 1.5 billion naira charge for certified true copies of voter register, says fee reflects actual production cost. Morocco to adjust 2025 budget to focus on health, education and reducing regional inequalities, says the finance minister. China accuses U.S. of undermining rules-based global trade system with discriminatory policies and unilateral sanctions. Premier League clubs split over proposal to impose spending cap limiting total expenditure to revenue of lowest earning team. Many thanks for watching. This is World News on Souk News Television. Do well to follow us on all social platforms at Souk News Television. I am Omobola Sandra. Good afternoon.
Nigeria, rich in traditional and cultural heritage, is intentional about promoting history and retaining cultural values. The country has succeeded in preserving its identities and that of the forefathers for ages through folklores, folk tales, traditional ceremonies, community-based initiatives, cuisine, and most notably, museums and cultural centers. These institutions serve as invaluable repositories of history, ensuring that future generations remain connected to their roots and appreciate the diverse cultural tapestry of the nation. In Nigeria, there are over 38 museums comprising national, state, and privately owned institutions scattered across the country. Each of these museums plays a crucial role in safeguarding Nigeria's vast historical wealth, with collections that reflect the uniqueness of different ethnic groups, traditional practices, and historical transitions over time. In Lagos, the National Museum, located at the center of the city in Onikon, claims a notable collection of Nigerian art, including pieces of statuary, carvings, archaeological and ethnographical exhibits, among others. Of particular significance is the terracotta human head, known as Jema head, dated between 900 and 200 BC, which is part of the renowned Nok culture. The piece is named after Jema, the village where it was discovered. The museum is administered by the National Commission for Museums and Monuments and remain a key educational and historical attractions for visitors. Another prominent artifact housed within the museum is the famous Benin bronze head, an evidence to the artistic excellence of the Benin Kingdom.
The museum has a lot of functions, some of which are to educate, to entertain, research, interpretation, conservation and preservation of our cultural heritage. And the museum was established, Lagos Museum particularly, was established in 1957. It was formerly referred to as Department of Antiquities. So, well, the journey so far has been interesting because, we are here, to showcase our cultural heritage, not just to the country, but to the world. And we've had, we have series of, events that we do, that involve the community. And because of that, we create that awareness that this is where you can come and, see and feel your cultural heritage, your traditions, your history. Because it is said that a people without a history is a people without identity. So the museum portrays this to the people. And over the years, that is what we've been doing. Through education, community participation, we have galleries, that we display some of our objects, our antiquities, that showcase our patrimony and all there is to know about our cultural inheritance. And so the museum, has been doing that over the years, and, we still keep doing more.
The Lagos National Museum was founded in July 1957 by English archaeologist Kenneth Murray, following the submission of textural sketch in 1948 at a conference on museum policy in Nigeria. Kenneth Murray collected several traditional masks from Cross River State to display in the museum's early years, according to historical records. The primary purpose of structuring the museum was to preserve Nigeria's historical artifacts and cultural heritage. Fortunately, that vision has remained alive to this day. The museum serves as a significant tourist attraction for Lagos residents and international visitors alike, offering an immersive glimpse into the nation's past. Some of the remarkable artifacts currently on display at the museum include the bullet-ridden car in which former Nigerian head of state, General Murtala Muhammad, was assassinated, pictures of previous rulers and presidents of Nigeria from different eras, a diverse collection of cultural drums, stools, and ceremonial staffs from various ethnic groups, historical crowns and caps of revered traditional rulers symbolizing their power and authority, photographs of Queen Elizabeth II and her entourage during her visit to Nigeria, reflecting moments of colonial history.
It's so immense. Museum is a reminder of what the society is all about, because a number of us are missing the link. We don't even know the role, the significance of the society we find ourselves because of foreign influence. But when you come to museum, it will bring your mind back to the original habitat, the way of life of people, how things should be seen in the society, and how we should react to phenomenal changes in our environment. Basically, we'll be doing this work of educating the general public, not only Nigerians, over 20-something years here, and the impact has been so tremendous. To the point that what we do at the museum is in consonance with the curriculum of our institutions, from primary, nursery, primary, secondary, even tertiary, even people in their corporate organization. They deem me free to come to National Museum anytime they feel like, we are missing the link, we have missed a lot of things concerning the way of life of our forefathers. You know, even here, apart from that, we do have what is called seminar. We organize seminar for expatriates, for individuals. They come around on Wednesdays to come and listen and learn on cultural-based subjects.
I think it's great. I mean, I particularly like the circle of life that are presented in here, right? From birth to reincarnation to external influences. I think I gave a good history of Nigeria. I learned a lot about that. There seems to be some real big connection between Nigeria and Benin in terms of the history that I wasn't totally aware of. I was able to see the different artifacts and stuff that were presented. So it was quite interesting. They did, I think, a pretty good job doing a comprehensive tour or comprehensive history of Nigeria and its culture and its surrounding areas.
A visit to the Lagos National Museum offers an enriching experience, transporting visitors back in time and allowing them to connect with Nigeria's rich and diverse history. The museum provides an opportunity to explore stories of resilience, artistry, and governance that have shaped the nation. Whether you are a history enthusiast, a student, or simply a curious traveler, stepping into this museum promises a nostalgic journey through Nigeria's past, fostering a deeper appreciation for its cultural legacy. Nigeria continues to reflect the stories that shapes its people, steadfast in its commitment to promoting history and preserving its cultural values for generations to come. Grace Komalafe, Souk Perspective.
The Eyo Festival, also known as the Adamu Orisha, is a traditional Yoruba festival unique to Lagos Island in Lagos State, the center of excellence. It is one of the most iconic cultural events in Lagos and serves as both a spiritual ceremony and a public spectacle. Eyo dates back to the 19th century, though original traditions suggest its origin may be older. It began as a rite of passage for the transition of a deceased Oba or High Chief in Lagos. In today's special report, Bayo Olaoye traces the antecedent and the genesis of this renowned cultural event. The first recorded Eyo festival was held in 1854 to commemorate the passing of Oba Akintoye. Over time, it also became a celebration for the installation of a new Oba or to honor prominent Lagosians. The Eyo festival is rooted in Yoruba religion and spiritual practices, specifically those of the Orisha cult. It is particularly associated with the Adamu Orisha, a deity representing ancestors and spiritual guardians. The Eyo festival is essentially a masquerade festival. The masqueraders are called Eyo, and each represents a spirit of the ancestors. These Eyo figures are customized in flowing white robes with large hats and face coverings. They carry opas, known as batons or staff, used to generally discipline those who break festival rules. The Eyo festival can also be described as a spiritual cleansing of the land and people and used to escort the soul of a deceased noble into the afterlife. It invokes blessings and peace for the community, purges the city of evil spirit, and misfortunes. The festival is organized by 5 major Eyo groups, or IGAs, also known as palaces, each with its own color and significance. Eyo Adimu, black, is housed in Iga Adimu. Eyo Laba, which is recognized by its red color, has Iga Idungoron as its palace, while Eyo Oniko, renowned for its yellow color, stays at Iga Oniko. Iga Ologede, with its green color, will reside at Iga Ologede, and Eyo Agere, with its purple color, stays at Iga Agere. The main day of the festival is called Oye Day, which falls on Saturday. Prior to this, there are several rituals leading to the Akoko Day, where announcements are made and various traditional rites are performed. What are the rules, regulations, and etiquettes? During the festival, what are the do's and don'ts? During the festival, certain items and behaviors are prohibited, such as wearing of sandals and shoes, since everyone goes barefoot during this period. Also prohibited is the use of motorcycles and bicycles, while public smoking is not allowed, as well as the wearing of hats and caps. Violators are often corrected gently with the okpa by the Eyo. What about the modern evolution of Eyo Festival as a potential for tourism development? While originally a sacred rite, the Eyo Festival has become a major cultural attraction, prominently showcased during Nigeria's independence celebration in 1960, and in subsequent years, it has been used to honor dignitaries and promote the heritage of Lagos. It does not occur annually, but rather on special occasions, often at the discretion of the Lagos monarch or Oba of Lagos as the custodian of the tradition. The festival combines ritual, theater, music, and community spectacle, and it is often considered a precursor to the modern Nigerian carnival. The Eyo Festival has inspired modern performances and literature in Nigeria and reflects the depth of Yoruba spirituality, the importance of ancestors, and the interplay between tradition and modernity. Olumide Shokoya reporting for Souk News TV.
Morocco, Lishabi and the people of Egala, a story of resilience and transformation. Telling the story from afar may not be as beautiful as visiting the historical scene for a more engaging storytelling.
I welcome you to the foot of Morocco. So climbing the rock is in 2 ways. Either you go through the panoramic elevator or the stairs, but whichever way you choose to go through, I'm assuring you are going to land at the topmost part of Morocco safely. So Morocco is like every other rock you've ever climbed or know about, but it plays an important role in the life of the people of Egba during an intertribal war between the Egba and Old Empire.
History and culture are intertwined.